Hello and welcome to Eat Your Backyard, my YouTube channel. I'm so glad you joined me today. We are looking at a beautiful chocolate pudding fruit and a overflowing, well-aged compost bin. And I will be really, in a rather eclectic way, just be walking around the yard showing you some updates on things that we've got going on here. Also got a couple special treats planned for the beginning of the podcast. We might plant a tree. What I mean is a cutting. I'll show you 2 new mango trees that I recently purchased for $45 a pop. Money well spent, by the way. And also give you just generally updates on everything that's going on. We got Thumper out in the bunny run, hopping around and thumping. Our chickens are in a very contented mood, so I don't anticipate a cackle fest in this morning's live stream. But you never know, that could happen too. And I brought with me, of course, my coffee and mealworms. Well, soldier fly larva worms. Because we're going to feed these sweet little hens. I think we might let them into the bunny run too. I'm going to switch over to the, hold on, I'm going to put this stuff down. I'm going to switch over to the cellular instead of the Wi-Fi. Okay. That's better. Yeah, if I get to a certain distance from my Wi-Fi. Okay, so let's get started. I figured this one would be, since it's Sunday morning and all, would be to read a little quote I found. Stoked you're here. And here's the saying. This is from a book that you might know. Book of philosophy. And here's what it says. When the harp, that's interesting, ironic. When the heart weeps for what it has lost, the spirit laughs for what it has found. Isn't that the truth? And I couldn't help but notice, I saw on a news thing this morning that gas in California is now up to $7.50 a gallon. Which I started to think about that. And of course, you know, it impacts everybody. But I started to think about who does it impact the most, right? And of course it impacts the people with the least amount of money in their possession the most. But that's only because money has value. If you imagine a situation where money did not have value, real value, well, you're looking at it. You are looking directly at it. What has real value is what's happening right under your feet. And if you go with the flow, I would claim, as weird as that sounds, you go with the flow of nature, permaculture, which I love. The flow is extremely abundant. And I mean extremely abundant. Now, it's easy for me to say, right, because I'm down climate-wise, but really you can do it anywhere. And sunlight and water to grow some simple systems. Now, I've grown my backyard in a series of incremental steps over the years, and over the last year I've really just increased everything the last couple of years. In case we're not as solid as I thought they were, and you know, now we're seeing, of course, the shortage in certain goods, etc. You know, I can give examples of how it impacts me personally, but it's like in chicken coop building, it costs or whatever, but everything starts to cost more. One thing that is always valuable is going to be food. Right? If we just think Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food first. and in my opinion. But as important is shelter and security. Simple needs we all have. Have materials for shelter out of your yard. I'm certainly utilizing my oak tree. I'm going to put some videos out about that. If you see this behemoth oak tree in the backyard there on the other side of the house, that thing is a beast, but it contains hardwood beams that I can use all this. I'll give you an example of that now. I could go and purchase more of the, concrete. Now this is just something I recycled. Obviously, it's something that was just recycled rails from an old wall I had. And I really just put it here as a temporary placeholder. It's not meant to be permanent. By the way, everything is full anyway. Look at, this was all lined up before, but although it does get knocked by yard equipment and so on, the things float around on top of the sand. If you could look at this sandy yard over a long period of time, what you would see is things, that it moves. It's a fluid thing over the right span of time. Sand is so loose. So instead of, oh no, look what I did. Look what I did. I spilled the worms. All right, that's telling me. Let those chickies out onto the yard to eat those worms. I'll just do it that way. It's your lucky day. Okay. So this area, by the way, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel, stay tuned to these live streams, stay part of the community here. It's super fun for me too. But this area is a new edge space I created by building this bunny run, as I affectionately refer to it, the Zen bunny run. And everybody who enters this bunny run is immediately aware of why it's called the Zen bunny run. There's few things as tranquil and serene as spending time with a couple of fuzzy lionhead bunnies and a herd of chicks. That being said, it's a certain kind of holy place. It is a certain kind of sacred space. Certainly, for me and my family. We're back there all the time. And this morning we've already collected 2 eggs. Both the bunnies have been out in the bunny run for extended periods of time and petted extensively. By the way, it's not just about the food. Really not. Permaculture, the way I look at it. It will take you to places. It'll take you to movies in life, reality scenarios in life that you will love. Like petting a sweet little bunny. Or having chickens follow you around happily cooing. Right, chickens? Yeah. And then what you realize is every morning you can go out and pretty much count on 5 fresh eggs. And then you eat those eggs and you realize, wow, the energy. And you do a little research. Dr. Andrew Huberman of Stanford will tell you that many of the most significant nutrients your brain requires are provided in the correct levels in eggs. Now, if you're eating eggs that are organically grown, like these sweet little hen girls produce, and also free range, so she's picking bugs and whatever little sprouts grow. And we throw back veggies to these hens all the time. Plus we give them our food scraps. So they're getting a really rich, diverse diet. Yeah, AB, great comment. Very true. Permaculture is a lifestyle. Absolutely, it's a lifestyle. And it's way beyond utility if you're doing it correctly. Everywhere I look, I can show you the transcendental truth of how awesome this is. And that's the only reason I do this YouTube channel, is to try to share that, see what happens. I'm not even trying to produce an outcome, to be honest. It's not a means to an end, but it's just to share it. And I think I get a rise, I get a positive feeling when I help others, so I like to do that. But look at this. look at that little pan. Look at that little pan. That's a little pan, a tin pan that we bought at Tractor Supply. I don't know how much it was, like $3, $4, something like that. Galvanized tin pan. Now, prior to this, I didn't have any galvanized buckets in my life, and let's think about that. It's one of the most valuable things you could possess is a galvanized bucket. The meaning in that little $4 bucket or whatever is very, very deep for me. Transcendental truths revealed all over it. Like the fact that it's the only way to practically contain fire from like a grill, or if you're going down to, like me, I go down to the beach, use one of their grills. The only way that makes sense to deal with those embers to clean out the grill you just used at these parks is to put it in a metal bucket. Okay, so there's that. There's also the fact that they make excellent feeding pans for these chickens. They will work for just about anything you need to do and have the structural integrity you require to do it often. Little tin pan. Now these chickens, this is like chicken church right here. This is where the chickens go to church, at the pan. And they're just wondering what's gonna hit the pan next. Their little chicken brains are doing those computations right now. We just watched, I took my youngest daughter and son to a movie last night, Venom, which was awesome. I thought I needed that movie. And they, a spoiler alert, but you already know this if you are familiar with Venom 1. But chickens, they have 2-star chickens in the movie. And I think that Jack said, those are the golden birds like we have. We thought they were the same birds here, but I think they weren't. I think those were actually Rhode Island Reds, which these are hybrids. But the point is, they have these chickens living in their apartment with them, and immediately I thought, oh man, there would be chicken poop everywhere. There's no way you could have a chicken walk around for a half a second. Did you hear that? Hear that? Sounds like something's going on in there. Oh. Oh, you know what I just figured out? Permaculture Principle, observe and interact. Sometimes the barred rock, you know what barred rock eggs look like. Sometimes they will lay an egg outside of the nesting box. And I was wondering, and it will always be, coincidentally, right in this area here. I bet you we're going to see an egg coming out right now, actually. Wouldn't that be something? And we can see it because it's pointed in the wrong direction. Gotta watch out, if that egg comes out, it could roll right down onto the ground here, so I'm gonna have to block it. Oh, there's 2 birds in there. Oh. All right. Let me see if I can get her to chill out a little bit. All right, sweetie. Come back to earth. Maybe not. Well, the price you pay for eggs, folks. All right. So, yeah, Permaculture Principles, I'll get away from this cackle fest. You know, I didn't think a cackle fest would happen, but it did. It's a good opportunity to kind of vacate the space. Now you can see even from this distance, it's not that loud. Although you can hear the chickens, the hens do that when they lay an egg for that short period of time. It doesn't last very long. This is a good segue. What have you done? Now, I was informed by my wife, very politely, of I'm stoked with her patience on my plant buying habit. Trees. So, I agree, fundamentally, but of course, not enough trees of the right kind. So, we're going to start replacing some. She's right. We do have enough trees, but I think older, tired trees like this everbearing mulberry, you see it's got moss on it, big. Are you making them louder back there? Oh, my wife just went back there and level 5 cackle fest beyond belief. Sorry, I'm distracted at some point. Oh boy. You know what? Let him out into the yard. See if they'll chill then. Anyhow, so that's so funny. They just freak out. Every once in a while on a Sunday coffee chat, they'll do this. They'll go, I think it's almost like they know. But when they see my wife, since she's the ultimate giver of treats, they just are like, they lose their mind sometimes. I mean, they'll fly over their enclosure. They never do that. So anyway. Oh, they found, look. Are they going to find my, yeah, chick, chick. Here, I'll get them to come over to the cup. Yeah, chick, chick. Come on, chick, chick. Oh, you're the lucky bird. As soon as they find this, there's a gun. You chick, chick. You chick, chick. You chick, chick. There you go. There you go. There you go. You chick, chick. You chick, chick. Where's the final chick, chick? Oh, it must be still up laying an egg, missing out. They can't have a cackle fest when their beaks are full of fly larvae. Nice. Okay, sorry. Had to manage the cackle fest. You know, that happens. Another joy of permaculture. I know now it's going to be a 5-egg morning. Yeah, so I bought 2 new mango trees. Sorry for the delay. They are 2 wonderful varieties. It's is one of them, and the Kesser is the other. And this is the Kesser right here. But look at this. This is the way you want a mango tree to look when you buy it. I got it at a little nursery south of here by about an hour. And they had just gotten a shipment of trees, and they had so many healthy specimens. I actually have the feeling now, this is how it goes for me, that I should have bought more of them. But then I have such a hard time computing where I'm going to fit them into the yard. I mean, I really know how to preserve these mangoes by drying them in a way that really works for me well. So everything about it. But I want to get the commercial varieties that are more dwarf but have high yields, etc. All right. So I did. And these are pretty big mangoes. I think I'm going to say that being a low, say 10 to 15 fall tree, maybe 8 feet wide, something like that. And you can produce a lot of volume of fruit if you manage that kind of tree with the trimming, and you manage the sunlight, because these guys need sunlight. Oh, man, you know, I look at these mango trees and I just think, gratitude. Hey, Camel, good to see you. We got a moderator on the stream. Good to see you. Check out these 2 sweet mango trees I picked up. I feel so good about them just because they are healthy. The width, the diameter. Whenever I'm buying a mango tree, I want to see that the leaves are healthy, right? All the signs of a healthy plant, but that they're not caloric, They don't have yellowy, they don't have spots, diseases, they don't have bugs, they don't have any of that nonsense. They're not, also that they're sturdy enough that they look like they're a tree. It's not just a wilting little stick. And this one certainly had that, especially in the graft. And you could judge, don't, on these mango trees, don't judge the tree by the part that was grafted onto it, which you're going to want to get a grafted one if you're buying it at a nursery. Look at the base tree that it was grafted onto to judge the age, kind of the plant power of these things. And you can see by this one, it's a nice thick. I'll try to put my, oh, look at those hens. They're back in the new banana patch. That's right, girls. Go to work in there. They're gonna fertilize it for me and compost it. I've been chopping, dropping like crazy. You can see all this stuff in here. Just throw everything in. I don't have nearly enough stuff to put into the yard from the yard now. So I'm gonna start to harvest my oak tree. Oh, Camel, that's a great question. I'm gonna talk about Dune here in a second. But yeah, you can just tell also it's sturdy. Like, you do the little shake thing here. Is it, it's obviously it's anchored by this bamboo, but is it sturdy? It is. You got a healthy roots all around the base of it. That tells me, and I know from experience. The worst thing is, the worst thing is like what happened with this motley grapefruit tree. Look at this pathetic stick. And I'm going to tell you right now, grapefruit tree, I'm going to talk to my grapefruit tree. If you do not produce better situation growth within the next year, I'm giving you the handsaw. You're getting either moved out of this spot or just turned into compost. I had much higher expectations for this tree, but it was doomed almost from the start. I spent about $30 at this. Picked it up as one of these citrus trees you get at Lowe's or whatever. They always got 1,000 citrus trees, probably 900 of them all die in the yards they go to. But I pick hardy things like the grapefruit because I know it can grow through the adversity, but this time it sure hasn't. And the reason was, I'm sure, when I took this thing out of the pot, the roots had not even grown to the edge of the pot. And so here's the scenario. I took out the grapefruit tree, and almost 50% of the soil that was around that was in the pot just fell right off, and there's barely any root growth. So it was just a turd of a tree. I probably should have taken it back to Lowe's. I'm sure they would have refunded me. If I had been a little bit more savvy, maybe I would have done that. But I might ask them even, hey, this happened, and would you be willing? And yeah, they might actually do it now that I think about it. Okay, so Dune, Camel, yeah. We went to our favorite theater, and with the mindset of going to see Venom, because of course we already had Venom t-shirts and that we got a Five Below or whatever. Goofy, fun. So we got there, and then I saw that Dune was there, and my daughter was like, Dune? I was like, oh, absolutely, I knew Dune. That was like one of the best movies I ever watched as a kid back in, I think it was in the 80s, or, yeah, a long time ago. It was great science fiction movie. I mean, it was one that kind of rivaled Star Wars in many ways, but it never caught on. But yeah, the Dune movie. So I can't wait to see it. So we decided we're going to go see it next weekend. Yeah, so we're going to see it next weekend. But this weekend we saw Venom, and I would say it was a good action movie, for sure. And I won't give away any other spoilers than that, just because there's some cool things that happen in it if you're into the Marvel. So the two varieties I got were the Kesser and the Fairchild. Now this is the Kesser. We talked about that a little bit. It produces more of a squarish mango, which is weird. I was looking at pictures of the fruit. I've never seen it in person, but pictures of the fruit, and it was weird. They call it an oblong shape of fruit, unusual, like squarish. But the quality is supposed to be wonderful, low fiber, very sweet, spicy kind of mango, apparently, which I like. And that's also what I would think of more as the Indian varieties of mangoes would have more of that spicy flavor to them. Oh, that's cool. We're gonna watch it twice. It's that kind of movie. Yeah, we've done that with certain Star Wars movies, actually. When they first came out, gonna watch it twice, even 3 times. That's how ridiculous we get with these. Yeah, I love it. It's amazing what, yeah, amazing how good movies are now. But this is the Fairchild Mango. Fairchild Mango. And by the way, both these claim to ripen in June and July. Yeah, and they also give an indication of what it looks like. The fruit, which is yellow. It's pretty cool that they put this on here. The Fairchild Mango is the, quite possibly, I would say, the quintessential good tasting mango variety that most people will refer to because it's steeped in history. The genetic kind of introduction of mangoes to Florida is pretty interesting if you're into that. Yeah, let me know if you are, by the way. I can make a video about it. But Dr. Fairchild actually imported a variety of mango, and long story there. But it actually took on at first down in the Miami area, and they had quite a bit of it, and then it kind of disappeared, according to the lore. And then it came back. They introduced it again, and now it's here to stay. But you know, if you look around on mango resources, the Fairchild is always in the list of best tasting mangoes. It's classic shaped mango, yet it is yellow, you know, which would tend to make you think that it would be an Indo-Chinese variety of mango, right? Because the there's essentially two types of mango trees that you might be familiar with. One is the Indian, which is more of that red, yellow, green, classic, you know, kind of like reggae fruit. So cool. That's like my Tommy Atkins or my Hayden. So beautiful, which I love. But those, I believe they're both hybrids. They're not actually true Indian versions of trees. But keep in mind, in India, they fought wars in ancient times over mango trees. This is the king of fruit. By the way, I will tell you, and I love this. What a mango nerd I am. This is dubbed the queen of mangoes from India. That's how they refer to it, the queen of mangoes, right? Because the mango itself is the king of mangoes. This is the queen. Isn't that cool? Because the fruit quality is so superior. Now, these varieties of mango trees are just examples of what we can do when we play around with the genetics of trees. And anyone could do this. Anyone could do this. And here's what I'll tell you. You could create your own mango variety right now. And the reason is a lot of these trees will produce monoembryonic seeds, is what they call them. And that means that they're not going to be genetically true matches of their parent tree. That means you can isolate qualities and really come up with something amazing over time. You need, you know, long periods of time, and you need the will to do it. But you could always just plant any monoembryonic mango seed, which is quite honestly most of the ones I encounter, but there are some polyembryonic mango seeds which do grow true to seed. Things like the Namdok Mai, which you may have heard of, which is a really, really cool mango. Yellow, smaller, delicious, like kind of patio mango tree. Polyembryonic. So you plant that, I think it's like, you know, throw up multiple shoots, like might throw up 3 or 4 shoots, and then 3 of them will be genetically true to the seed. All right, so anyway, so you have also then, I suppose, a variation, an avenue for, you know, varying the Namdok Mai variety as well. So cool. I haven't really gotten into that until now. I'm into it now. Yep, look at that. That's mango tree grown from a seed. Mango trees are so easy to grow from seeds. Don't ever hesitate to do it. Now, you know, years ago, I actually have some videos where I said, like, don't grow it from a seed. It doesn't grow true to fruit. Why waste your time? My attitude has completely changed. Now I go, grow it from seed. If it doesn't produce any fruit, then graft a better variety onto it, because you just got a killer rootstock in the ground. You see? Like, so this thing, once it gets to be the, you know, wider, you can graft on. I could easily just graft on a limb off my Tommy Atkins and instantly have a Tommy Atkins mango tree. So no worries, don't sweat it. I know more now, but I planted a lot of these mango sprouts. Pots, this one's leaning over, but as long as it's alive. Well, it's not gonna be alive for much longer if I keep neglecting it. I'm gonna have to pin this up. Yeah, so anyway, these mango trees are literally, that you're seeing growing here, are literally just pulled out of my compost bin. They just sprouted out of the side of the compost bin. So how do you grow a mango tree from a seed? It's really just a matter of getting it off of a fully ripened mango. Rotting mango would be even better. That just fell off the tree and hit the ground. Because then you know that seed's 100% mature. That's so important. And then you plant it in about 2 inches of potting soil and keep it watered, and it's going to sprout almost 100% of the time. You can even remove the outer shell. It's kind of got a harder outer shell. You can just crack that and take out the middle part. I would chip that thing if you want to maximize chances of growing. But so you could take the little seed that's inside the shell out and plant that. That's a good way to go. You could sprout it in water first, but they are so easy to grow. Did you know that the family of plants which mango tree is part of is largely poisonous? I didn't know that as deeply as I know it now after doing a little bit of research until I looked into it. But of course, the mango leaf, the sap, the shininess you see here, that is urushiol. That's an oil. That's a plant oil. That's something like the consistency of motor grease. So it is, meaning it gets on your skin. It's very hard to kind of get it off, although you can wash it off. It just takes a physical action over time to get it off, and you got to wipe and smear it like you would on if you got motor grease on your hand. That's the stuff in poison ivy, urushiol, that makes you itch. So if you're allergic to poison ivy, you're allergic to mango sap. Yep, they are directly. Palm Nation, welcome aboard. Another moderator on the line. We like it. Yep, it's urushiol. That's the name of the chemical. It's an oil. Like I said, it's got the consistency of grease, but it has a stickiness but it's invisible, so you won't see it on your skin. Now, if you're sensitive to that, you're going to break out and have a rash that's pretty bad, pretty irritating. Bummer. And you might end up smearing it all over the place, not even realizing it, right? Because you can't see it. So the first thing is, if you're allergic to that kind of stuff, after you deal with the mango trees, I would suit up so you don't get the sap. It's not going to be in the fruit, right? It's just going to be in the sap of these leaves and maybe a little on the skin of the mango. But you can wear gloves, you could do all that. That's what I would do. And then wash your hands really well, and you'll probably be just fine. But I mean, you got to really wash them. But look at this. It provides more than one resource. It's a vigorous grower, right? But I can't let it grow that tall. So after we trim them, we're converting all these mango leaves and leaves of, quite frankly, everything else into compost. Now, stay tuned for the video. We're going to flip this sucker. It's been cooking now for more than 9 months, and it's ready to be flipped. I can't wait to see it. It's now at the point where it's almost stopping going down on this one. This one I thought was the same way, but nope, it started to continue to go down. They compress so much. I never expected that when I put these things together, and the sheer quantity of soil that I'm going to produce now because of the denseness of it. I had been thinking of composting in kind of a weird way, but come to find out, it's really, using this method, going to produce a lot of soil for my yard. And so I'm going to Lowe's here later today. I've got to pick up I'm going to get some wood chips for back in the chicken run, add a little bit more carbon into that consistency, and I think they'll love that. Also keeps it nice and clean, keeps it from smelling bad. It doesn't smell bad now, so I'm in good shape. I just never want it to ever be like that. But I'll go buy however many bags I buy, but it's nowhere near even one of these, right? So I should do a calculation when I do the video. I will, of how much this stuff actually produces. But this is a lot of soil. Now, what am I going to do with this? This is the missing component in my yard right now. Oh, potatoes, tomatoes contain nicotine because they're related to tobacco. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, actually, tobacco is one thing I was considering growing in the backyard for a few reasons, just because it's a useful chemical to have. Nicotine. You certainly use it for a lot of things you can around the yard. But anyway, there's a tremendous amount of compost. And what I'm going to do with it is, you look at this. This is my soil. I live on a sandbar. So this is sand. If you go down a foot, you're in a different color sand. And that's it. So I am trying to establish a soil health here. This area you see is not naturally a fruit forest. It is naturally a low scrub dune environment. Prior to building houses here, that's what it was. Very low scrub brush, scrub palms for miles. Occasionally a small oak hammock, wild grapes, sea grapes, things like that growing intermittently, all those kinds of things. But this was a very dry, low vegetation place which encountered burning, naturally quite frequently. But it's sand. So without the burning, without the replenishment, all that's going to grow here is scrub brush. But I've turned it into this little paradise, but it's not there all the way yet. I mean, what's going to turn, by the way, this is a fig tree that's in the process of establishing roots, so I'm fully confident this thing's going to go off. But what's going to really get it there is when I take that compost and I pile it around the base of these trees. To whatever, I've got to determine what that right amount is, but that's the game changer that's coming next. Yeah, this is the Generi fig, and the Generi fig is a really interesting one to consider. I've got kind of a fig thing. Yeah, but this one produces figs the size of tennis balls. By the way, that's the exact right place for you to store your Dao Te Ching. It's like down in the dirt or in your pocket. And if you have read it, you know what I mean, probably. All right. Yeah, so I'm going to pile the compost all around these, and it'll take it to the next level. Right now, what I'm doing is just piling up bunny manure and worm tea. Yeah, well, I think it still could be considered a miracle plant, tobacco. Nicotine itself, I don't think is, necessarily harmful. I know in Sweden, they consume a thing called snus. S-U-S-N-U-S. Snus. You can look that up. Snus is I believe it's a pasteurized tobacco leaves that you eat. Now, when looked at from that perspective, is it still unhealthy? I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question, so I don't make any claim, but you certainly get a heightened mental acuity from nicotine. You certainly get some positive kind of nootropic achievements with nicotine. So, I don't know. I guess the question would be, for me, what is the effect it has on dopamine itself? Do you get that reward like that from it still when you eat it? And if you do, well, then yeah, it's something to be understood first. Sorry, I missed your comment. Oh, I see. Yeah, if it can easily be used for harmful things. Well, yeah, then the pros don't outweigh the cons. I would say, I don't know if I philosophically agree with that. I mean, it's only harmful if you use it in a certain way, and to remove all harmful things, it's almost to say, well, you can't be trusted to determine or use harmful things. I mean, I'm trusted to use it, my loppers, a saw, which is definitely a harmful thing. Oh, look at these chickens. Come on, chickens. All right, let's see if Thumps is out still. Thumper. Find him. Cottontail deep in a hole. He get put back in his cage? No. Where's Thumper? Oh, there you are. I was putting my hand down a hole to see if you dug out. Gee whiz. How's it going, Thumps? Don't play hard to get. Yeah, Thumper's not as affectionate as Penelope, but he's still an affectionate bunny. Let's see if I can get him up here. He's probably getting thirsty. I don't think we have water down here in this cage. We don't put him down for that long, so we don't always put out water. Thumper. Let's see if I can get him to do this. He does a thing where he'll let you roll him on his side like a dog. He will sleep sometimes in his cage on his side. So we just... Okay. There he is. That takes a tremendous amount of relaxation for a rabbit to let you do that. They have to really be cool with what you're giving them. Yeah. Yeah, I don't let them jump off this bench too high. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, poison a lot of things. They certainly do sell poison for enjoyment at every liquor store. No doubt about it. Chickens are all over the tables over there. That's what I don't like. You chick. Come on. Let's go in and graze. Shall we, girls? Come on. Come on, chick. Come on, chick. Let's go in. Come on. Come on, chick. You chick. If I go in, they'll go in. Oh, yeah. Just stay in there and snap on grass for a little bit. See, they love to eat the grass back here. Yeah, and again, alcohol can be incredibly healthy too if you used it correctly. Well, I guess I don't know if I'd say incredibly healthy. I wouldn't say incredibly healthy. But I also wouldn't say without a little salt in the stew, you almost don't exist. So have some fun every once in a while. Look at this, Moringa. We had fiber optic cables run down the back of, kind of the easement where the power lines are, and that they got smashed by the equipment they were using. I was like, oh no, I just figured, well, moringas, you got to know how to take it. But these moringas are doing very well. I've had 2 of my largest moringas snapped over recently though, and that's from the wind. They are incredibly brittle, very brittle. But this one's already up to, this is not even a year's growth, and well, close to a year's growth, but it is well over my head, probably going for 8 feet. It's 8 feet in a year. Yeah, moringa, it's the real deal. You can plant them close together. I've got a bunch of moringas that I have neglected and not planted, and they're way ready to be planted. So I brought a few of them over here with the moringa that I had grown in a more shady location. These moringas, and one snapped off. This one, and I just cut it cleanly. And I'm more than confident that it's going to come back. I can see little tiny sprouts starting, but it'll do what a moringa does now. But as long as I got it to that structure, treasure outdoors. Yeah, give them a haircut and they'll branch and strengthen up because their growth, Treasure Outdoors, is lanky. I totally agree. Seeing them around the neighborhood and friends of mine that have them in their food forests and so on and so forth, definitely the case. Several of them, many of them have let them grow very tall, like, 20 feet tall, 25 feet tall. Oh, look at you, Henny. You can go out the side door. Sometimes we'll leave the side door open. We got a couple more eggs in there. Yep, 2 eggs. So I'm not bummed about them being snapped over. It's forced me to trim them over. Now I have one that this happened to in the side space that I added this year, and I also cut that one very close to the ground. I probably only left 4 inches of trunk, and it has 5 or 6 sprouts that just popped up right away. So yeah, hard to control them. I know I always tend to overdo stuff like this, so I wonder how hard they are going to be to control. I mean, I know they're going to be hard to control if I don't keep up on them. My general plan is, though, we'll see how this goes. Harvest them readily, really tax them, and keep them low. Now this one, it's right by our power line. Oh yeah, all kinds of restrictions put in place. So many laws. They've even got laws to govern, let alone the drinking age, they've got laws to govern how many chickens, or if you can even have the ability to produce your own food or have the animal component in your yard. But man, oh man, look at this. I haven't eaten it raw, but I've heard of eating it raw, and I've been considering doing that with one of these. Uh-oh. Why are we clucking in the... Oh, okay. Blondie, the troublemaker, jumped into the turd area to get the best grass. So she's trapped. Yeah, so look at this bizarre collection. This is exactly how the other side of my yard started on the edge space, which is just putting things in that I'm into. Oh, interesting. Very strong flavor. Yeah. Have you eaten the moringa leaf itself? Have you eaten the moringa drumstick, the seeds? I haven't eaten them. I've only planted them. But they really do contain a nice nut in there. I wonder how that is. I imagine it tasting like a macadamia nut. I'm sure it doesn't. That's a Persian mulberry cutting that I put in there. I believe it will grow. That's a great tree. Again, it can, it's going to get big if I don't control it, but I'm going to grow it for the leaves, primarily, the fruit. Yeah, in Thailand, I saw on the internet, in Thailand they make... Okay, come on, Chicky Chick. You're the last one. You're the last one that didn't get down with the program here. Go in with your friends. No, no, no. Back inside. There we go. But yeah, they make a Thai soup out of it. Drumstick soup, I think it's called. Actually, they also make a soup out of the tamarind leaves. Sour soup, it's called. Yeah. And the lemongrass, of course. Yeah, we've got a lot of Thai cuisine type plants growing around in the yard now that I think of it. So a couple blackberry bushes. We'll see how they do. Typically, blackberries are not going to like the saltiness of my yard, but we're going to try it out. They were $5 a pop. Why not throw them in? But this is an inspiring enthusiasm, certainly. And that's salt right there. That's nothing but salt doing that. And then I bought this thing, which is I left the tag by it. They call it a false bird of paradise. I like that. I just almost want to name a heavy metal band that. False bird of paradise. You can see what it looks like. It has more of that tropical vibe. I've seen these around, so I know what they do. ornamentals, also flowers. And I'm probably going to get a couple varieties of alamanda to go on this fence as well. That's probably going to be what ends up replacing those blackberries if they fail. Of course, Monstera deliciosa. And dragon fruit growing all behind it. Well, this is a new addition. This is a type of fruit which is, again, poisonous. Very apropos to some of the topics today. It is poisonous, the fruit, until it's ripe. And isn't that true of so many things in life? Interesting. Where's Thumper? Oh, Thumper's back in the corner there. I think he's cornered by those chickens. He's no match for those chickens. He's digging a hole behind. Oh, I see. He's trying to dig under the fence. I gotta get him out of there before he succeeds. But yeah, just like anything, if taken prior to ripeness, can be the counter effect of what you hoped for. All things in their correct time. Look back on the comments. Oh, okay, you have it growing in a shady corner of the yard, protected. Do I have any Robolini fruit to give away? I think we're pretty much past Robolini fruit season in my yard, at least, but I see all the neighborhood Robolinis just, you know, still have some, so maybe some around. I am going to start giving away palm seeds, doing giveaways. Yep. And Areca and Robolini are going to be two of them. Look at the update on this little guy. This is a Malacca, another Indian mango. This is referred to as a patio mango, so it's something more like what you would expect from an Namdok Mai. That same nursery that I... Okay, excellent. Palm Nation, you'll be the first to get it. Those are two very easy to grow palms. By the way, I recently, Areca, look at how, you know this one. There's the status of the Areca clump. That was just, I threw a pot of seeds there. That was all that I did. And then gave it water and bunny turds. But yeah, this Malacca only gets to be about 10 feet tall, copious producer of fruit, something like a little miniature Tommy Atkins, but a different type of fruit. Look at the color, very orange, yellowy. Just looks outstanding. Right away it sprung into action. Right away I gave it some bunny turds. You can see around the base here. The remnants of the bunny turds, they kind of break down over time, which is really cool because that's what you want, is to slow feed it. And it's got multiple shoots. Do I consume sugarcane? Yes, I do consume sugarcane. I love sugarcane. Number one thing with sugarcane, by the way, I'd throw out there, world. Do not put granular fertilizer on your sugarcane. Whatever you do, you ruin it. Hey Charlotte, welcome aboard. Thank you. Bunny turds, yes. Bunny turds are the secret, the key that unlocks every lock of abundance in your gardening life. Two little sweet little bunnies. They're back there producing turds for me right now. I've got a pan I actually need to harvest. Every weekend I do a couple chores now that we've converted my little beachside food forest into something like a mini farm, pretend farm. I change out the chicken bedding in their hen house every weekend. And I also harvest all the bunny manure every weekend. And then when I do that, I go back there and I pressure wash out all of the chicken area. I don't pressure wash inside their coop, but I might start doing that. It's just I don't want to make it wet. But outside the coop, on the anywhere the manure is on the walkway or whatever, we get that all cleaned off and pressure washed off. In general, try to keep it clean. And when I say pressure wash, it's like a type of fitting you put on your hose that makes it at a high pressure come out, not like an actual machine. And then I take the 2 pans that I got at Tractor Supply that I harvest all the bunny manure, I pull those out and I pour them into a 5-gallon bucket, and then I go around with a little shovel and just sprinkle it in all the places I need it. Or, like I did here, I put the whole shooting match right into a new endeavor, into a new system that needs a turbo. Now, I bought 5 Cavendish banana plants. I saw a couple of the subscribers also got Cavendish banana plants recently. It's really cool. Here's my update. I planted them and then I immediately set about crushing one of them with the trimming activities. Is it gonna rain? How do you eat sugarcane? Oh, I'll love to answer that question in just a sec. Yeah, so I trimmed this longan tree. I'm still not done. I've got this one, and this one that still needs to come down. Again, I harvest it. Yeah, Palm Nation, you have the Cavendish plants. Yeah, you look nice. Good deal down there at the local store. But I only harvest as much as I can process, right? Because I don't want to get overwhelmed. I do like order. Do like a little, although I'm fully willing to tolerate the chaos that is nature, which isn't chaos. It's just chaos viewed up close. It's order viewed from afar. I don't want to have too much debris there. Now, you can see it's free, this area. This is a work area in my yard now. I go and pile stuff there for it to drop leaves, to put into this, or to put into the chicken coop, and then to produce the branches, which then go to the biochar, which provide the micronutrients back to the yard, along with the bunny manure, which improves the health of the soil by adding the correct bacterias and encouraging worms, feeding them, and very bioavailable nitrogens, etc., being delivered to the plants via cold manure. And before you know it, you get a good result. So what I did here was I put 10 gallons of worm tea onto these new Cavendishes. That is a pretty good, nice thing to do to any plant. And then the next thing I did was I put 2 gallons of bunny manure onto it. So I just sprinkled it all throughout. Now I've been watering it. I've watered it about 5 times since then. I just deep water it. Just get the hose and I just water all this. And I also piled in chop and drop. Going to buy the mulch as little as possible, especially in situations like this. Now I could intersperse some mulch in here to help, make the mix better, add some carbon in here, and I might do that. But to start it off, we've got a nice layer of these longan leaves. And here's a little trick, by the way, as you use stuff for chop and drop, at least for me, you learn the tendency of leaves and how they behave based on just the permaculture concept of observe and interact. So these longan trees, they hold their leaves onto the branch, and they'll break down over time, and so will the branch. It's actually a good way to go, but they'll hold together. So one of the things I'm thinking is, well, the chickens are going to come back here and just try and scratch it into all directions, and I don't really want that to happen. So I chop them off in bigger pieces, and I found that when I lay them down, they end up forming a nice flat structure, and they interlock together. And now this is going to help retain water. It's going to break down over time and provide the nutrients right back in. That's really the perfect scenario. But I could use more, and you can see back in here, I got some Robolini pumps, so I'm just throwing it back in here, feeding the earth. Okay, the result of all those practices, and I just recycled some old 4x4s to kind of draw a line. The result of all of that is, even though these leaves got all crushed down, you can see it grew right back. It's just going off. What are we looking for health in our Cavendish banana trees plants at this point? Well, this is what you're looking for. A nice dense new growth shoot, vigorously extending. Do that again. Nice dense new growth shoot. You can see it's thick, it's green. It's what you want. This one back here is the only one that kind of slowly went along, but it didn't have the benefit as much as all these others of the worm tea and so on. So you can see the comparison. These things are just like invigorated beyond belief for 2 weeks, basically, since I planted them. And that's the result you get. Beyond the banana growth, so I did a video about this whole thing. If you're interested, you can check back. It's one of the recent ones. It's on the Eat Your Backyard page. By the way, it's probably pretty windy in the microphone now because it's blowing. Looks like we got a little ocean storm coming our way. But yeah, that's just 2 weeks of growth, and we've got very encouraging signs. And something on these that I really liked, I found some that had pups growing in the pot. If you can do that, that's great. Well, these pups weren't doing much, but they were there, and it already, this pup sent out this beautiful, healthy green leaf, which tells me this pup is loving life. So happy to be liberated from that store. Look at that. Isn't that cool, the variegated pattern on the leaves? And this one as well, nice green new leaf. So they're both going off, and I'm gonna throw up another shoot, but that's what we want. We want multiple shoots because I'm gonna continue to increase the density of this clump moving forward. I'll plant pups that I harvest, out on the perimeter here. I might even buy some more if I can find some good deals. If you know what I know, you know that you can go to stores that around here that let their plants kind of get wind whipped over time. I mean, just how it is, and then they'll eventually put them on the discount rack. I always love that. Oh, look, $5 banana tree that looks like it, the leaves are kind of dying off because where it was kept. Put it in the ground here, give it this kind of treatment, before you know it, it is going off. So I'm very pleased with the results here. I think it's almost time to harvest these bananas. Go harvest video about that. They look practically ripe. We're gonna dry those. But they've got that plumpness to them that makes me think it's time to harvest them. This needs a little more time to cook. Most important thing is keep this watered while it's fruiting. Bananas don't seem to mind lots of water when they're fruiting, unlike mango tree. You got to be careful how much. But what you can see is you're looking for signs of pups growing, etc. There are pups growing all around this thing. I'm stoked. Yep. Now I've got a few other banana trees here, which I got from friends. Cuttings that grow up, apple bananas, or Orinoco, I believe, is one of them, I think. But we'll see. I'm looking for the fruit. Now I'm going to plant these trees, I believe, right about here, which is pretty close to the fence, but if I can keep them trimmed, I don't know. What I like to do is like chess pieces. You kind of move them around and envision what they'll be like and what the shade will produce. It really, for me, it just takes a matter of time to think about the right placement for these things. But holy moly, I'm going to be swimming in mangoes. Now the Roselli, which is something everybody should grow. You could grow it in a pot. It's such a useful thing. It's a novel thing. I'm letting these Rosellis go to seed on the bush. These little calyxes. These are hibiscus flowers. Okay, this one's getting kind of brown. That's what you want. I'm going to harvest the seeds from these guys. What will happen is when they get fully dry, like this one, it produces those little, if you can see, those little seeds on the inside. There'll be about 16 of them or so, let's say, down in there. You harvest those, and those will germinate readily next year and into the future. So tasty. And of course, the petal itself is just delicious. I'm gonna have one of those. One of my favorite things in my yard, really. Both our Rosellis got snapped over in the same wind events that snapped those two Moringas. So we harvested all those Rosellis for the petals, to make tea, eat dried. And these I'm harvesting for the seeds. I might do some giveaways with these seeds too. I think it'd be cool to do some maybe some viewer contests, etc. I've seen that on some of the other channels I watch. I always enjoy it. Cool way to kind of get connected. Yeah, it's another good one. And that's not actually a bad way to harvest this fruit. If you're going to be eating it, which is just to take the petals off the flower and eat them one by one. Leave the calyx part that turns into the seeds. They're delicious even when they're drying out a little bit. So yeah, pretty happy. Now, to eat sugarcane, that was a good question. How do you eat sugarcane? In Florida, they call it chewing cane, and this is one of the most common varieties. It's a green chewing cane, meaning it's got a lot of fibers down through the middle of it. It's very fibrous, and you can chew on it, and it kind of retains that fibery piece, and you just throw the fibery piece away. All right, so how you eat it is, first you wait for it to get ripe. You make sure that you haven't fertilized it with the granular fertilizers, because then it's going to not taste that great. But if you've done those things, it's going to be fantastic. Just let it do its thing. And what you do is you just chop it here, and then the best way to go is to take that piece, which is, it's like a rock, to take this hard, incredibly hard piece of sugarcane and peel it with a sugarcane peeler. You can get a sugarcane peeler on Amazon for next to nothing. Or you can find one in a store, but it's the kind of thing that's tough to find in a store, maybe. Yeah, and then you just run it like you would peel a potato. You just run it on the outside, and you can peel off this exterior coating, and then you chew on it to get the water out, and then toss the fiber when you're done. That's how you eat it. You'll know it's ripe when it starts to get a lot of these, at least this variety, when it starts to get a lot of these reds and yellows and vibrant colors in it. That's the sugars maturing, just like in a leaf in the fall. Yeah, pretty stoked on how everything's going right now. And these two mango trees are only going to increase the joy, that's for sure. I've got some things that are not doing too well right now, that, like this soursop in this particular spot. It had a number of difficulties, but it's definitely not going off. So I keep trying things. I've got it at least secured so it can't fall over and break the roots again, but I think that did happen. Now I've given it, again, worm tea, bunny manure. We'll see how it goes. You can see it's already starting to try to put out some new stuff that's better, so we'll see how it goes. But soursop. This little white Marcellus fig, just kind of not doing much, but I'm going to still have faith in it because I know that it's just growing its roots. And then, of course, this disaster. Part of me is thinking just get rid of this thing right now and replace it with a mango tree and be done with it. So I don't know. That's one of the sacrifices I'm considering. Relocating this to a more user-friendly spot and taking this valued real estate here and transitioning it into a mango goodness. Seems like it might be the right decision, but I don't know how much longer I want to look at this type of thing. Just so pathetic. Doesn't seem natural. You know, you got to kind of know when to say when on some of these things. And, you know, I could take it and put it back in a pot and try to rejuvenate it. But I think it's just not passing the test. So maybe I'll put one of those mangoes there. I could put that Indian mango there. Put that Kesser. So, who knows? Decisions. What to do. You see, if I got rid of that and put one mango there, and not, you know, got rid of it, I'm not going to kill it. I'm just going to put it elsewhere. And then get rid of this old lady. Put one right about there. That's going to give them both a decent amount of space to expand out into, which is very alluring. Because if one thing's for sure, this Tommy Atkins mango has taught me, if you're trimming them correctly and you're giving them what they need, keep them low like this in a compact space, you can get so much fruit, it's almost unbelievable. the star fruit are coming in. That's a beauty. It's about how you want them to look when you eat them. Get that orange color. I'm gonna smell it. It smells so good. It smells like a flower. It's got little bug stuff on the end. I'm gonna want to wash off. Oh, it looks like a little bug intrusion. Well, you know what? We even mess around with the bug intrusion ones. I'm gonna put it back in there. Might be able to find another ripe one. Now the thing is with star fruit is if you have like liver sensitivities, that type of stuff, internal organ issues, probably going to want to be careful eating star fruit. They do have some acids in them and so on that can really aggravate that kind of thing. So there we go. That's a beauty. No bug issues. It's a winner. See how it's turned. How's it going, Jack? What'd you find?
2 eggs.
2 eggs. Nice. Oh, that's a barred rocker, sure.
Yeah.
Look at that. Perfect. What's that?
Check
Which one laid that?
Probably Chicken Joe.
Chicken Joe, huh? Look what I found.
Sure fruit.
Yeah.
She ended up on another one. Right?
They're coming in like crazy.
There's a lot of little baby ones.
Nice. Thanks, Charlotte. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is a good example of here's what the yard's like. You know, here's what it's like now. You know, I fly drone around. You can see what's going on. There's not a lot of yards that are really taking advantage of this. But this is what you could have, as long as it's that complicated. Just incrementally adding this stuff. Looking forward to harvesting this banana. And I'm thinking about maybe trimming up some of these papayas, but to be honest, they're so big right now that I wonder if I could do it safely. What you doing there, Jack? You gonna throw an egg at me? Yeah, sometimes we crack an egg into a hole we dug in the yard because the egg is, it didn't make the standard, let's say. Something like one of these little hens laid an egg. I don't want to feed these hens these star fruit either. I just feel like since they're questionable in the acids, we don't feed them. Put my coffee cup down. We don't feed them any oranges and stuff like that because of all the acid. I do give them some pineapple skins and so on, but they don't really seem to eat them much. So it's more of a compost concept. So let's see how these buns are doing. Oh, you got liberated from the turd chamber, huh? Oh, they're sweet. These are sweet birds. The chickens give you much, as a pet, the chickens give you much more return for your investment than the bunnies, really, in a way, because they're so like interested in you, even though you know it's probably mostly about food. What are you doing, sweet hen? Yeah, they love it in here. It got a little brown, though. I didn't really water it much. I don't have any. I don't have any irrigation turned on in this area, so. Chicken prison. You girls ready to go back in and forage? Probably thirsty. Yeah, I'm gonna get them out of there. Let's move these chickens. All right, and what do you need when you move chickens? Well, one of the most effective methods is the rake. if you do it correctly, you never even have to touch the chicken with the rake. You just kind of move the rake in the area that you don't want the chickens to be. All right, let's get them to the door. Eat your chick. Eat your chick. Where's the last one? Eat chick chick. There you are. Okay, you want to go back in? Let's go. Eat chick chick. Zen in the art of chicken herding. And there's always one, and I'm gonna guess it's Ponce, the chicken we named Ponce after Ponce de Leon, Florida chicken, because she just explores. She was exploring since she was a tiny chick. Yep. No, that's Sally. Sally the sea monster. C stands for chicken. Sally, come on. Come on. She's a very gentle hen. Sally, even though she's one of our biggest birds, she's very, very docile, very sweet hen. Oh, you missed the hole. All right, we'll put you in the other way. This is a sign Jack picked out. Really cool. All right. Where are you at? She's content, just free ranging. She doesn't need. Now watch what she does when I get closer. This is because she thinks I'm a rooster. See that look? That pose? Dig it down. That is the rooster come and get me pose. And she'll do that because she feels that I'm a rooster in her life. That's good. I make these little hens relaxed. Right? That's why you're the easiest chicken in... Whoa. Wow, that chicken flapped his wings and knocked the gimbal into the next universe. Yeah, the one-handed chicken grab doesn't always inspire confidence in these little hens. But ultimately, I'm not even that worried about having one hen out and knowing where she is. It's when you have all your hens out and they're just mowing your grass like incessantly. I don't know that I'll ever have this area look lush again if if we let the hens do that, but it's hard not to because they're always going to take a few beakfuls on the way. She's back in here making this part of the garden healthy. And there are a lot of things you can do to selectively target areas you want the hens to enrich. And chicken tractor is a good way to do that, where you just put them under a little structure. You move to different parts of the yard over time. You can do that incrementally, and they'll eat down an area, they fertilize it, then you move it to a new area, they do the same, and then as you come back to that spot, eventually when you get back to that spot, it's regrown, more healthy than ever, they eat it down, and so on. So you produce, using a chicken tractor concept, you can produce a really incredibly lush landscape over time. Some of my most adored YouTube channels I like to watch, like the Justin Rhodes is one, and Edible Acres is another, and certainly a few others. I just love what they're doing. They have practices like that. Edible Acres, they do kind of a high tunnel concept, and certainly Justin Rhodes is big chicken tractor spreader of knowledge, in my opinion. I mean, I just think the people like that, just have such a positive impact. Just sharing what they're doing, just giving you a window in. What you doing there, Sally? You ready to go back in? I know you are. Oh. knocked out a ton of bedding. All right. No worries. It all goes back into the same spot. Yeah, as a matter of fact, you can see the migration, my little high tunnel concept, the migration of chips into the bed. Now, wherever you put the chips, they just spread them out. So one of the things I've been experimenting with, as you can see, this is just all organic matter from my yard, just thrown in there. And they are constantly composting it. Thank you for that, by the way. I've been putting in some of their used chicken bedding in different areas and letting them scratch it out and spread it out and integrate it back into the earth, and that's been working out pretty well. By the way, if you like this video, please don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up. That just gives me a little nudge to say, keep doing that. But this cart has been a major game changer. This little cart, is selling everywhere. Gorilla cart. So much better than a wheelbarrow for what I'm trying to do. But look, I let it fill up with water. I use it to move just about everything. Dirt, plants. I've got an oak branch out front that I need to move now. Stay tuned, you'll get to see how I'm going to utilize some of these very hardwood oak branches that I'm harvesting for my tree out front back in the yard. But look what I did. I put chicken bedding. It wasn't a very clean job. You can see it's everywhere, but you can see outside of where it fell, outside of where I was trying to shovel it over the fence that we got on this side, you can see where the hens really can't get to, what it looks like, and what it looks like where the hens just had a half a day to work on it. It's spread out everywhere, in every direction. I'll be seeing chips from this on the other side of this area here soon, because they just kick it in all directions and reintegrate it, spread it. It's so cool. So I think this is what I'm going to do to process the chicken bedding now, since it seems like my compost bins are getting pretty full. I'll have to kind of switch to this for a little while until I either get a third compost bin, harvest some of that compost and put it around. Yeah, so always something to do. Coconut tree going off. I'm thinking of adding some more palms to the yard. Now, at the point where you've got 4 green dwarf Malay coconut trees, the argument for more coconuts really is not going to happen and be true, that you need more, although I do love them. But I think I wouldn't mind having some ornamental palms increased in my front yard, which is, less edible, more ornamental. Of course, it's got plenty of edible there now with the coconuts. The royal palm tree. I'm contemplating adding a royal palm tree to the front yard. I found a good deal on foxtails, Bismarcks, locally. Pick a bean, a little bit more expensive. Pick a bean pretty much looks like a coconut tree without the coconuts. Beautiful. I think I like it more than a foxtail, but to have a variety of palms is interesting, certainly, as well. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But I think I will be getting more palm trees, certainly. As palm trees come and go, we get the opportunity to play with new varieties. Now, one thing is this queen palm here, which is now simply a stump next to my biochar production machine. It had a fungus issue. And you can see the fungus grew right around that rock. Isn't that crazy? Gigantic fungus. Killed this thing. This type of fungus is pretty... Hey, Flatjacks, sorry. Welcome aboard. It's all good, man. Even when the fungus kills your queen palm, it's still good. Your fungi. You'll notice that I cut this with the triangular approach. As it breaks down, I cut off more pieces of it and throw it back in the coop. Creates somewhat of a chicken playpen concept. They love to jump on the stump. And there's the stump that I harvested. Yeah. This is the peaceful time of the day. Since the beginning of the live stream until now, you can see the transition in the chick mood, the chick behavior, the chicky essence. We're past noisy time now. Now we're into just chicken chill time. Oh, hear that? That sounds like chicken purring. They'll do that thing like. Oh, she heard me do that. That's why they're like little dinosaurs. I think I might have just heard a chicken. Not my chickens. Wonder if one of my neighbors has chickens. Yeah, man, it is perfect weather today. If this sun stays off, it's going to be epic. I can't wait. Get down, jump in that ocean. I think there's going to be a little bit of a wave in there today, maybe. But if nothing else, we're going to swim. We swam in something like seaweed stew yesterday, and still was fun. These chickens are loving life. We're already up to 3 or 4 eggs, I think, today. I'm gonna guess it's a 5-egg day. But if you think about the noise that chickens produce compared to the value they bring, you know, I was wondering if it would be like a tolerable thing I'd want to have, and it's been more than tolerable. But it does still make me a little nervous when they get in these cackle fests, but they typically happen at a time where everybody's kind of either at work or already way up, and they don't last for long. And then I think about it like I've been listening to my neighbor's dogs bark for 20 years. And every Eat Your Backyard video will have potentially dogs barking in the back of it. So these are far less than that. It would be one thing if they were producing these sounds nonstop all day long. I mean, that would be, I could say, irritating. But the way they are now, it really isn't. And since we got rid of our rooster, we never encountered the point we heard him do his first cockle-doodle-doo, and he was off to the farm. Yeah, totally stoked. Totally stoked. Going to be adding lots of palm trees this year. And I've got to water that worm farm. It's getting dry. Brown cardboard, you know, it's incredibly dry. I need to get some water in that thing today. For sure. My Chirimoya tree, custard apple, custard apple, is definitely doing well. All signs look good. Wasn't sure how this thing was gonna do. Wasn't familiar with growing it in my backyard, but I put it in a place where it does get sprinkler water on it, and it has not been failing yet. So we will see if it can just like all plants, if they can just get above the sprinkler spray on their leaves, they generally do very well. But you know, this one I haven't given the turds to yet. I'll be giving the turds here shortly, and I almost hesitate to give it the bunny turds when it's doing this well. I planted it in part sun. Yeah. I mean, it is fairly sunny here. This is the western southern exposure, so you know the sun's tracking, you know, right this way in the summers, right overhead, so it gets a lot of sun in the summer. In the winter a little bit less, but it still gets every day this direct good amount of sun. So it definitely still gets enough to thrive. And of course the strawberry tree continues to thrive. Good example, the strawberry tree, of what you can do growing things from seeds versus cuttings, when you should buy something in the nursery as opposed to growing it from a cutting or growing it from seed. This one I purchased at a local nursery, and I'm very pleased with it. Spent a little bit of money on it. It's not that expensive. It's like maybe $35, $40, something like that. And it's done well right from the get-go. The fruit is very plump, very tasty. Now I grew some from seeds, and they have many times the vigor of this one that I obviously was grown from a cutting. Many times the vigor. And the fruit is much more spread out, and it is smaller, but it's still very good. But that's a good example of, there's probably a little variability in the seed of the strawberry tree. So if you want to have a strawberry tree that tastes like this strawberry tree, you're going to have to get a cutting off of this strawberry tree, or one that is good. And there are plenty of good ones. That's what the nurseries are selling, the one that's going to produce the reliably good fruit. And it's fun to experiment around. The ones that I grew from seed are more or less, intended for more of a structural use than a fruit use, but we will use it for fruit. But look at how tall. This is a strawberry tree. It is huge already and weeping over. It will become absolutely annihilated by the winds, I know. So we'll be interested to see how that happens. We just trim it back. Yeah, yellow moringa. That is so cool. Yellow moringa. I wonder, and this is a little weird. This one that I grew from a seed, it produces fruit that is not red. It always seems to be ripe on the, and ready to eat, more towards a yellowish color. Now, I don't know if it's got the yellow gene in it or something, but that's the other cool thing about growing these suckers from seeds. The variability, growing anything from seeds, mangoes from seeds. Now I can see the variability. Let's see. That one's almost ripe, actually. No, that one's ripe. So although it has the seed, has lots of fruit on it, they're smaller and they're not red. So I wonder if this is a yellow. And that the way to create a yellow maybe is to, keep planting seeds until you find one that produces yellow fruit. Maybe that's how they created the yellow Montingia. I wonder. My pineapple. Yeah, I planted it with a red seed. Yep. Yep, 2, as a matter of fact. This one as well, as you can see growing. The pineapple experiment in the vertical grower seems to be doing what I need it to do. What happens is, they're all motley when they're planted, and that's all this side growth, and then they start to come back. How do you enjoy growing pineapples? Well, my thought is, one of the things you do is you have enough of them planted so that you're getting a continuous flow of pineapples. So it's not just like one pineapple in a blue moon. Oh, is it not the fruit that's yellow on the Montingia? Yeah, I've never had one or really even researched into it, so very interesting to learn about it, certainly. You see this one already, the middle's coming out, kind of rotted out. It doesn't really concern me much because I've seen this happen on others, and they do tend to come right back, so we're just going to let it sit there. But I waited too long to plant that. This one, not as long, doing well. This one, a little longer, not doing as well. But I bet you they're all going to do well in the long run. I think this is an example of what can start to happen when you get these very thick, vigorous growth habits, and that's exactly what you want. This bounds the roots a bit, so I believe the pineapples love that bound root experience. Now, in the area of gnarly citrus, just citrus that's been gnarled over time, this is certainly a good example. Ugly fruit with ugly leaves, but man, it produces lemons every year that we eat that are fantastic, so we just tolerate it. I'm certainly not going to get into a me versus the leaf borers or citrus situations because it's just not worth it. It's not fun, especially when it's still producing fruit. So my theory is just feed it so much nutrients that it can tolerate all this. It doesn't like the salt on its leaves. It doesn't like the bugs. What type of lemon? That is a, what's the one they call it? I believe it's the Meyer lemon. I think that's what it is. Now, if you look at this soursop, I bought 2 because I got a good deal on them. And they weren't that huge. Actually, the nursery I went to where I got those mangoes had beautiful specimens of soursops, larger tree type ones. But these two, I planted one in this more shady location and it's doing far better than planting it in full sun. I'm not saying that's why it's doing better. I'm just saying it is doing better. There are a number of other factors that are at play here. One is its exposure to salt, its exposure to wind. So different factors, different plant, different deal completely. But this area I'm attempting to grow all up in unison, so to speak, so that they all continue to get sunlight as they grow. And so far, so good. Oh, those chickens went quiet. Oh yes, dust bath time. Do that, they just get down there and take dust baths. They say nobody knows why chickens take dust baths. It's only theories. They like my son's kayak. See that? They just pile sand all over themselves. Dirty birds. Oh, I'll share something else with you that I've been working on. This is a good update. Pigeon peas. I mean, it's kind of a must-have, don't you think? If you're going to do the permaculture thing, but if you're also going to do that, I want to have food for high nutrition. Pigeon peas. Look at that. We got pigeon peas. This is a milestone in Eat Your Backyard. I planted them all over. They completely failed on one side of the yard, completely thrived on the other. Since I tried a number of different ways, I'm now able to harvest pigeon peas. Look at these things. Not going to harvest them yet, but you can eat them at this size. You can actually fry them up and eat them just like that. Shell and everything. Pigeon pea is a type of tree which is a actual legume. It's a pea. They say it restores nitrogen to your soil. It's one of these pioneer plants of permaculture. Incredibly easy to grow. Produces an incredible abundance of food. The leaves can be eaten. Every part of it can be chopped and dropped or eaten. You need these in your life, man. Dude. Look at that. And they just produce tons of these peas, which you can eat. And the peas themselves, nutritionally speaking, are super, super high protein. And if you know anything about protein, you know that you need it for proper function, right? Muscle function and brain function. So, all right, here we go. Look at this. See that? Here's the circle of life. What does a hen love? Well, a hen always loves a nice, partially yellowed mulberry leaf where the sugars get activated a little bit. It's fully ripe. Yeah, she'll take a bug if she finds one on there too, but we don't find many bugs on these. Find bugs, I guess we find bugs, but it doesn't seem to affect them much. And this is the part of permaculture I find super satisfying. One of my friends told me, come check out my circle of life. I want to show you, and that idea is what we're doing here, the circle of life. Got an itchy hen ear. They love to be hand-fed. Like if you drop this leaf on the ground, they won't be as interested in it. But if you hold it out to them, that's about it. It can certainly get much more leverage. Ow. It didn't actually hurt. It's funny how I said ow. Actually, I've got a little splinter on the end of my finger. That's why I said ow. Thought it was just kind of startling. Yes, my majestic chickens. We call them dirt eagles. Right? Oh, look at you. Blondie. Blondie's in charge. She might be smaller, but she's got a way bigger attitude than Sally here. There's Ponzi. Yeah, chickens. Very stoked to have chickens. Every time I see chicks, I want more chickens. But I'm restricted. This is a nice manageable number. I don't think I would actually get more even if I could, just because I think that it's about the right number for my particular family. We are producing so many. Hey, James Tropicals. Welcome aboard. We are producing so many eggs now. I mean, you shouldn't do math in public, but if you have to, here's one way to do it. 5 hens, 5 eggs a day, times 30 days a month. So you're talking major eggs. That's 150 eggs a month. Now, I've been giving them away to my friends, and I've been actually doing them with everybody I give them to, who now I've got many people who are just dying to get more eggs because they love the taste, but even more so, they love the benefits they immediately get, tangible benefits they're getting from these eggs, because they incorporate eggs into their life. And I tell them, eat the egg between 7 a.m. and 11 in the morning, poach it, eat it on empty stomach, and let me know how it makes you feel, if you notice any difference in how you feel compared to what you would get from a normal egg. So everybody I've tried this experiment with now, about 5 people, have all reported, wow, I feel so much energy, and holy mackerel. Here's another thing, I feel full, and I don't get hungry again until much later in the day. Well, that is exactly what the American Health Association and a number of other places say, that is the effect. It has a very positive effect on losing weight, eggs do, because simply you don't get as hungry. It is the complete nutrient set for you. So you're going to get all the amino acids, all 12, 13 amino acids that your brain needs to function correctly in the right proportions that it requires. Oh, black and blue coming off their feathers. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, chickens. Yeah, this is how God intended us to be. That's right. It's all very natural. It's really nothing, there are some things that are unnatural here, I would say, in a way. But, the processes that are at play here, I am in no way control of. In no way control of. All I do is feed this system my labor. That's right. I feed it my spirit and labor. I feed it my time and my thoughts. And it does everything else. It's like saying, are you beating your heart right now? Really? Are you doing that? Are you beating your heart? Right? No. Get out of here. We couldn't even possibly fathom what it would take to beat a heart. It's like trying to bite your own teeth. So, same thing here. It's all very natural. And I'm going to claim in a very hippie-ish way that it is abundance right under your feet. The here and now is where it's all happening. And I read that little quote from the Tao Te Ching this morning, but that one of the things that they say in that particular book of philosophy is the Tao occupies the low places. It is like water. It flows to the low places. And you might wonder what that means, and that could mean whatever it means to you. I mean, really, it doesn't need to have meaning. But the point is, what's the lowest place? Well, the lowest place is to be connected to dirt. Connected to the system right under your feet, which, by the way, if you were taken out of the loop, it would still function just fine. Now, chickens won't be around anymore because chickens 100% depend on us to exist. What did David the Good say? That nature wants to murder your chickens. It will kill 15 chickens just to eat the head off of one. So these chickens are here because I love that quote from David the Good. By the way, shout out to David the Good, another big inspiration to Eat Your Backyard. But yeah, the chickens wouldn't exist. But all these systems of what I talk about, what would exist, the natural state of things would all proceed, is all proceeding on its own. And that's the fungus that you see inside the soils. That's the bacteria that you're going to have in your soils. Those are the worms drilling little hole down deep, 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 leaving all their worm castings. That's the manures that you're placing, the animal manures that you're putting in there to promote all of those things. That's the micronutrients you put in there through biochar and other means. That's all those things are going to naturally happen over time. You can start, you can add these things and just turbocharge the momentum of the natural processes, but with your love, your labor, but they all happen quite naturally. And I almost don't want to know too much about it, because it's like, what do they say? Part of what you do when you're gardening is you're trying to make a thing away. Maybe I try not to go that way. I try to just find the natural flow of things and then go along with the flows that I am drawn to. But the natural process of how things occur is really very natural. It's more or less just plugging into it rather than making it come to an outcome, means to an end. You're just kind of getting in a stream that's already flowing, which is the flow of nature, and it's amazing. Can't comprehend it any more than you can comprehend how you beat your heart. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Dropping a little Tao Te Ching. Why not? Why not? That, my friends, that is a Hawaiian papaya tree grown from a seed, from a Hawaiian papaya I bought from a grocery store over a decade ago. Grown many children from it. And these little flowers on here are what is going to be the first reliable indicator to you to know whether this is a male or a female papaya tree. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no matter what the stressor is, it can't really be seen as good or bad, whether it becomes diseases that these things get or whatever. It's all just it's a factor. It's all just like the wind blowing in a kind of in a sort of way, and you could put up a wind barrier, you could whatever, but ultimately nothing you can do about it. Except, well, you can resist it and spend a lot of time being frustrated and neurotic, or you can just go with the flow best you can. And your flow might be, pretty gnarly, by the way. You could be flowing on a backflip into the Grand Canyon. I don't know what your flow is, but my flow is like raising little bunnies and chickens. So, of course, backflip into the Grand Canyon. That's an Evel Knievel reference. Evel Knievel was one of my greatest icons growing up. And he's just like, I'm just charging it. Going straight over that sucker. So gnarly. Anyway, this papaya is already starting to exhibit its first flowers. Now, I have a video on the channel about how to determine the gender of your papaya tree. Yeah. Anyway, the gender of papaya tree is typically male or female. I'll probably have this video will probably be censored. Anyway, how you tell whether it's a male or female is that you look at the flowers, and a male papaya will not produce babies. In other words, it won't produce fruit, but a female will. And a male will pollinate the female, and a male will have flowers that look different than the female's flowers. And how do you know? How do you know? Well, I give examples in the video. I'll try to remember to link it, but I hardly ever do. I mean, it's on the channel. If you just search up, Eat Your Backyard, how to determine a male and female papaya plant, it'll come up for sure. But it's these seeds. I mean, it's these flowers, and typically the male will have an elongated stem, very long stem. It'll be longer even than the length of the stem on the leaves here, which is rather long. Have a very elongated stem, weeping growth habit, and it'll have clusters of flowers all throughout, which will drop pollen that's then used by bees to pollinate the female flowers, but which will give you more seeds in your female, meaning your papaya will have more seeds. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So, whatever, but a lot of people will say, get rid of all the males, because, well, the thing is because they don't have the seeds, so they're not of use anymore. That's one way to go. Yeah, as a male, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I like that precedent. But I'd say they do have use. They produce more seeds. They allow you to produce more seeds. But anyway, the female will typically have one, maybe two little flowers off of each one of these junction points, and they'll be very close to the place where they originated. So that's a pretty easy way to tell, but you really can't tell until you plant them, so I don't know of any way to know the gender by looking at the seeds, so you got to plant them. And that's why I always say, if you're going to plant them, plant a bunch. If you're going to buy them, buy a bunch. In other words, if you're going to buy them at the store, if you're buying one papaya plant, maybe they had some way to sex that papaya plant and you know which one it is. I don't know. Maybe there's a way to do it. But if I'm going to plant them from seeds, I am going to plant at least a handful. And then I'm going to let them all grow. And when they get to a certain size, I'll just cull the amount of male papayas so there's not so many, so I can get a good amount of fruit. And that's the process. Now, what do you think this one is, based on what I just kind of talked about? What would be the determination? I'm trying to get a good shot here. I'm going to call that a male. And the reason is, you see there's many already. It's starting to show kind of an extended stem, but it's got 6 little flowers at least that I can count on this thing. So that's most likely a male, which will also account for its vigorous growth habit. I mean, this thing just shot up out his pot. But they're so beautiful, yeah. This could be, by the way, front yard fruit, right? Front yard fruit. Hashtag gonna get stolen. Unless you live in some Zen utopia where theft is not a thing. But if you live in the real world, somebody coming by and there's a nice ripe mango, a lot of people are just gonna pluck that sucker. So, and I'm not even trying to fault them for it. All I'm saying is, if you plant stuff out front, that's gonna happen. But the best intentions. But you plant a male papaya out there, well, you get the beauty of this structure, and you don't have to deal with the, oh man, like I did with my dragon fruit that I planted out front, which is just kind of funny, but I had beautiful dragon fruit plant out front, and tree formed it, and I had waited for 10 years, maybe a little over a decade, growing this thing and training it and watching it and wondering when I'd get a dragon fruit, and finally the beautiful flowers emerged from the mysterious creature that had waited so long to fruit. And then it dropped its little flowers, and on it were a bunch of beautiful dragon fruit, yellow dragon fruit. I now knew the variety of dragon fruit I had possessed all these years. It had been a mystery to me. Wow, I have yellow. It's one of the best kinds. And then they were all stolen. Every one of the fruit were stolen in the night. So I have not tasted the fruit of my labors there. But that does just make the actual fruiting that much better. When I finally get there, oh, what a journey. So, is what it is, but just saying, that's going to happen. Yeah, I don't see too many fruit bats around here, but I wouldn't really know the difference between a normal bat or a fruit bat. But we certainly do see bats here in the evenings, going at the mosquitoes. There'll be like lair of mosquitoes, lair of bats, lair of dragonflies. Yeah. And I don't do anything to pollinate these. I just let them pollinate on their own. But in terms of pollinating the dragon fruit in my yard, I haven't done anything with it. But there's a lot of dragon fruit around in people's yards around here, so they probably got pollinated that way if they need pollination. And plus, I have access to a new variety of dragon fruit, the red variety, over to Buddy's house. I just need to go over and get some cuttings, but he's got a behemoth octopus-like gigantic monster dragon fruit growing up a palm tree, a sable palm, and I'll go get some cuttings of that. And now I know the way to grow dragon fruit is not one thing waiting forever. The way to grow dragon fruit is plant 20 of them, and then you got 20 chances to win. That's just like bananas, just like a lot of things, pineapples. If you're gonna do it, why not just do it? I mean, it's such a small additional effort to get multiples of a thing or whatever, to get cuttings. Why couldn't, if you're going to your buddy's house and he's got a dragon fruit thing growing huge, and probably give you 20 cuttings. Be like, no problem. Yeah, hook it up. And then you can plant them all in a big area, spread them out, and maximize your potential to achieve fruit. I know that's the case because I do that with bananas, which is a very similar paradigm, and I produced two harvests of bananas a month here for a long time as a result of doing that. Now, it took a banana grove to do that, and if I had had a banana tree standing on its own, I would have occasionally experienced a banana reward, but it would not have been a reliable system producing anything. It would be a sporadic thing. And you know, if you're talking about systems, you don't want that in your system. You don't want a sporadic positive result. If you're developing a system to serve you, you want it to produce a reliable, consistent result. At least that's my thought. You know, maybe you fail in doing that, but I would say that would be the objective. And if you plant multiples of things, like I regretted instantly not following my own advice when I got these two. They were on the rack, $5 blackberry bush. Now they were scraggly. They were not doing great. So, but that's all right. They're vigorous growers. I've grown them before. I didn't know this variety that well, but hey, they're selling it in Florida Lowe's, so that might be good. Might be something they can grow around here. Although I know half the stuff they sell is just immediately going to die as soon as I put it anywhere near my yard. But I bought two, $10. Should have bought 4, $20. And then when you go to pick blackberries, if they do live, I've spent $20 to get a blackberry factory that will consistently give me a yield, a decent amount of blackberries, that I could probably pick a bowl full of blackberries, right, from 4 blackberry bushes on maybe some kind of regular basis when they're coming in. If I plant 2 or 1, I go out to pick blackberries, I'm picking like 2 blackberries or 3 blackberries. And that's not the kind of blackberry picking mission you were probably counting on. Although it's fun, it's novel, it's whatever, but you know, when it's that sporadic, you're probably not going to be hawking it or harvesting them or making use of them in any significant way. So really, if you want to do a thing, just do it, I say. Plant more often, plant a bunch of things of the same thing, plant a bunch of things of the same thing in different areas of your yard so that you can find out where these things grow well in your yard. That is so important. It took me so long to learn that. If you can learn that one thing from me here and avoid it, you've saved yourselves maybe 20 years of fiddling around. Pigeon peas, great example. I put pigeon peas there. I put pigeon peas all the way on the other side. I put pigeon peas out front. I put them all over, and they completely died in some areas, completely thrived in other areas. Well, I paid attention, and now I have a good idea of where pigeon peas will thrive in my yard. You know, if I just planted them in that one spot where they all failed, I probably would have thought, well, they don't do that well with fill in the blank. And I would have come up with some false reason, potentially, that would justify why they failed there. When you put them all over, well, now you have a data set that you can actually reliably discern things from. And as a result, look, I'm showered with pigeon peas. Now I can experiment at a whole new level. I had a handful of 16 pigeon peas that I got from a buddy. And that's what produced all this. I call it 16 chances to win. And I'm playing every one of them. Every one of those 16 got planted. Moringa, same thing. New addition to my yard. So, you know, I know how they do in other people's yards. I know how they look out in botanical gardens and so on. I don't know what they do in my yard, so I plant them all over. Now, they could be, a struggle to remove, so that's the risk you take. But no risk it, no biscuit. Now here's a quote that I think we should all remember, and related to permaculture, enjoying things in your yard. I'm saving you, said the monkey as it hurried the fish up the tree. I'm saving you from drowning, as the monkey hurried the fish up the tree. That's quite possibly what we do, not knowing it, whenever we overthink, or maybe even underthink, when we're not going with the flow of what's happening, in nature. Which, there's just a few things. There's the soil, there's the gas, the air, and there is the sunlight and water. There's just a collection of things, and then just kind of tweaking those in. Now, keep in mind, nothing that I do in my yard involves pesticides or herbicides anymore. I have plenty. I've even sprayed, things like Roundup and stuff at one point when I was, didn't realize, and I stopped that. But, really trying not to add anything that wouldn't, kind of naturally occur to the best I can. So, now, is that to say I would never consider that? No, I would absolutely consider it if I had to as an extreme measure. But the point is, I don't want to, and I'm finding that I don't need to the more I just simply tap into, well, the animal component, simply put, but into these different techniques of permaculture. So plant a lot of stuff. Why not? Look at this thing. I'm going to give you the lineage on this. This was a palm cutting I took from a friend of mine. Said, oh yeah, pull a cutting off of this thing in his yard. He had this interesting looking palm. I don't know the variety of it. It was beautiful. I planted it here roughly 15 years ago, stuck it here. It is still growing. Now it's experiencing the bunny manure, and it's just going off. Yeah. So yeah, Flatjacks, you want a working system without the need of stores being open to me. Yeah, wise words, my friend. Wise words. Are you prepared? That was actually the title of this. Are you prepared? If you waited all the way to the end, we're finally covering it. Are you prepared for, all these systems you might count on maybe not being as reliable? We talked about the system of the blackberry bush. What about the system of the food transit system? And we now see just how valuable a truck driver is, how critical that role is, how critical everybody's role is. And as they start to break down, I certainly don't see an increase on the macro level in the world. I don't see a lot of positive trends. Certainly when you could say you're paying $7.50 for a gallon of gas. Wow, that affects everything. Everybody hurts, and especially at the least wealth spots of the world. And again, like I said in the beginning, it only is wealth because we place a value on money. But yeah, I'll tell you, 2 years ago, that's what flipped the switch for me in permaculture, was knowing for sure that I needed to have the ability to check the boxes confidently in the Maslow initial collection here, which is food, shelter, security. Check all three of those boxes best I can. Now I can, rest a little easier. Doesn't mean chaos doesn't exist, but yeah, I can say if the grocery stores shut down, I don't think they're going to shut down, but I've seen them shut down many times. I've seen them shut down. And I don't mean during what's going on now. I mean during hurricanes. And like if you live in Florida on a barrier island, you've experienced disaster mind frame over and over and over and over again. I think it was wonderful. It was a wonder. It's a guru of the beachside life, which is, it's all impermanent. Yeah, you can have police cars driving around your neighborhood and telling you to leave. Like, that's what happens. And you can also go to the grocery store and it's closed, it's boarded up, you're not getting it. And then after the hurricane goes through, there was one time when my wife and I first had kids and we were in this house that we had our power knocked out for 3 weeks. We had no power, which is, you know, it wasn't that bad. It was just we were completely unused to it. But more so, we couldn't get bread for a week. You know, that's how, you know, lucky we are to live in a place that has so much abundance. But it's things like that that make you realize, no, this is not a forever, always accessible thing. And until it's taken away for a little short period of time, it's hard to realize it. But when it's taken away again and again and again, I'll give you another example. If you evacuate during a hurricane, you go across a causeway, and then they shut down the causeways. They stop the causeways. You can't, the causeway is only open one way out of the island. So you could go out, but then they have police that stop you from coming back. So you are restricted from coming back to your private property. That idea of, like, you know, I've been at the base of a causeway saying, please allow me over the bridge so I can go protect my home, which I'm worried might have broken windows or whatever as a result of the storm, and they don't let you across. So you may not be as in control of these things as you think, or maybe more so than you think. But when you have a system like this in your backyard, yeah, maritime law, martial law, exactly. Yeah, don't think it can all just, you know, go away. And that's not a bad thing. You know, it's just like, hey, you be personally strong so you're strong for the people around you, too. If you know, this ability to produce food is, right now, it's benefiting everybody that I'm closest to because I'm giving them these eggs and I'm reporting all this great health benefit from it. You know, things like that. So it can be the, you know, flip the bit. What's the Peter Principle? To those who have everything, more will be given. To those who have nothing, more will be taken. Just got to get on the right side of that wave and ride it. All right, on that note, I want to say I wish you all a very pleasant and bountiful day. I hope every step you take is showered with abundance and gratitude and pleasure, and that the dragons which present themselves in your path, you enjoy the slaying of them, and know that as you chop the head off of one dragon, 8 more will grow. You are the hero that gets them all and saves the village. Rock on, have a great day. Thanks for watching Eat Your Backyard.